Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cricket Podcast, where we're going to be talking about Pakistan's victory over New Zealand in the whatever it was,
The semi-final.
the semi-final
Yeah,
of the World
what it was.
T20. Yeah. In the fourth of their 5-match bilateral series. No, yeah, of course, the semi-final. Pakistan, they were 50-1 when we did a show 5 days ago, Max, and we laughed at their chances of making it through. Then they, got a bit of luck with South Africa. They beat Bangladesh themselves. We still didn't really rate them. Or maybe we did, I can't remember. They won. It's nuts. It's nuts. It's pure Pakistan. I'm Jack Hope. I'm joined by Max Ray Brown. And if we're lucky, later on we might have a special guest, but we're not absolutely sure. How you doing, Max?
I'm very good, thank you. Yeah, that was almost everything you could have expected from how this tournament's gone so far and how Pakistan play cricket. And it's nice being consistently wrong, isn't it?
No.
Well, I said that 50-1 was short, didn't I? Like, there's no chance. I'd say 50-1 of them even getting through. If Netherlands even beating South Africa, what do I know?
Yeah, well, apparently not a lot, which isn't a great way to start a cricket podcast where we're going to break down how things happened and why things happened. Max, before we get into all of that, we're going to do messages at the top of the show this time. We did it halfway through last time, but we're going to do it at the top, and then maybe then maybe at the end as well.
That's a lot of messages. Well, like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Come and join us. Hit the bell icon, like the video, beat the algorithm, get involved, get in the comments, send some stuff. It's always good. We enjoy chatting. At the Cricket Pod, Twitter and Instagram. Head over there for as long as Twitter still exists, of course. And if you want to support us directly, patreon.com/the-cricket-pod, from as little as £4 a month, $5. Join the Discord, get involved. Plenty of chit chat going on over there. Exclusive shows, etc., etc.
Yeah, I think aren't we planning on recording one of those tonight?
We are.
Yeah, we've got quite a fun format for that. We look at old videos basically and get past judgment on old cricketers. In the first one, we did Shahid Afridi. We got told off for calling Shaheen Afridi accidentally. Yeah, well, Ross does it every single time. He says Shaheen Afridi. Yeah. He says D because he's, I don't know, I guess he's got squirrel brain or something like that. we were talking about his century in against India back in a test match in 2006. It was good fun. Relive some India-Pakistan action. We could get more India-Pakistan action as a result of today's cricket. Max, let's talk about that. Patreon.com/the-cricket-pod. Let's talk about today's cricket. What happened?
Well, what happened is New Zealand batted first, and they got off to a fairly slow start on a fairly slow-looking pitch. Shaheen Afridi quickly removing Finn Allen. There was a bit of a rebuild from Conway and Kane Williamson, but neither of them kicked on, and it was left really to Daryl Mitchell with a quick 50 at the end to propel New Zealand to a score of 152 for 4, which looked okay-ish. It didn't look that easy to bat. And that's sort of epitomised by that kind of score. But it was all set up, wasn't it, for Pakistan to come and chase that down. It was a perfect kind of score that Pakistan would want to chase in a game. And so it proved. Babar Azam finding his way back into form just at the right time. Mohammad Rizwan as well, both scoring 50s. Excellent power play, 55 for none after 6 overs, and they were pretty much there from that quick start. And so it proved. They cantered home with 5 balls to spare. 7-wicket win, and Pakistan all the way, right?
Well, yeah, more or less it was. I mean, it wasn't after smashing it all over the place at the beginning. They didn't then go on and win in 15 overs or something. They didn't make a real statement, but
no.
As Pakistan wins goes, that's basically the template, wasn't it? Like it was bowl quite well, limit the other team to under 160, bat with extreme stability, mainly with our openers to get the number of runs that we need to get to win. And I think, Max, to be honest, I think first things first, they were pretty good value for it. I don't think there was much debate on the day that they were a lot better than New Zealand, right?
No, absolutely the better team. Everyone bowled well, I think. particularly obviously that power play. Shaheen Afridi picked up 2 of the wickets, but it was they just kept things tight. They sort of used the pitch well. They attacked the stumps and they made it difficult for New Zealand in a way that New Zealand didn't make it difficult for Pakistan. On a pitch that New Zealand made look tricky, Pakistan made it look easy, but that was much down to New Zealand's slightly wayward power play bowling, which has been their forte as well for sort of for the last few years. So they'll be disappointed with how they defended it. They would have probably thought they were in with a bit of a shout with how Pakistan have batted so far in this tournament. But the blueprint was back. And we were saying, weren't we, sort of in the lead up, and I think Rizwan echoed it in his post match interview that, pre-match interview as well. Essentially, Rizwan and Babar Azam have had trouble because it's been pitches that they're not used to. It's been a bit of swing, a bit of movement, and it's been tough for them for a team that is basically based on a stable start with their openers. If they lose them cheaply, they're in trouble. And that's how they got into sticky positions up to this point, when their bowling's dug them out of it and got them this far, and now it's sort of starting to click for them just at the right time. They always talk about peaking at the right time, don't they, in tournaments?
Well, I mean that is what you want to do. You don't want to peak at the wrong time. That's what New Zealand have done, basically, isn't it? Like, where
they peaked early.
Well, they peaked in the first game, and since then it's sort of been a slow downward trajectory. They, inch past Sri Lanka. They got beaten by England. They put away Ireland, but anybody could do that. I mean, anyone. And then today, they didn't turn up. Let's go through some of the key points of the match, Max. Obviously, the early wicket of Finn Allen makes a big difference, and I think an interesting way to do this is to talk about New Zealand with respect to their high point of the tournament, probably definitely that first game against Australia. What did Finn Allen get in the first game? 40 or 15 balls. What New Zealand are trying to do with Finn Allen specifically is kind of put a wild card in amongst the top 3 or 4 stability options. So you've got Conway, who is like a hybrid anchor. He's not like an old school 120 type anchor, but he's not a go from ball 1 type guy. Then they've got Williamson at 3, who is like an old school anchor. Between the two of them, New Zealand should very rarely see themselves more than 2 wickets down at the end of the power play. Like that's rock solid stability from Williamson and Conway, and that kind of gives them an option to punt a player at the top of the order, to just tell them to go out and try and do whatever. That is Finn Allen. When it works, it's excellent. When it doesn't, he's out third ball of the game, and things are looking good. I suppose the other side of that is that Shaheen Afridi, I mean, we've been sort of talking about whether he's fit or not the whole tournament, and he just is getting better and better in every game he played.
He's been working his way back.
You can almost, in the 3 balls he bowled to Finn Allen, actually, went like 2 full first ball, got hit for 4. Then it was a little bit leg side second ball, so it was
right on the money.
And then absolutely, in fact, it wasn't a bit leg side, was it? It was a big thick an inside edge, and then it was like third ball. That time are out. A lot of action to start things off. Then we did have the Conway Williamson show where they did bat with some stability. 38 for 2. Conway falling, and the last ball of the power play run out was. One, the run out wasn't exactly big brain thinking. I don't reckon.
Well, I mean, it was really good fielding. The pick up and throw on the run, but where was the dive?
Well, there was no dive. I mean, Pakistan's fielding.
He'd have made it, wouldn't he?
The one thing that I don't think you could have predicted before the match.
Pakistan's fielding was on point.
The Pakistan would massively outfield New Zealand. It wasn't. They completely won that battle, and it had a huge impact on the outcome of the game. And what did New Zealand drop? 3 catches, missed a couple of run-out chances as well. Pakistan pretty much flawless, and they get a direct hit run-out, which has a big impact on things. I actually saw that one of the CricViz guys said it was New Zealand's worst fielding performance of the tournament, and that aligned with the eye test. I wouldn't be surprised as well if it was Pakistan's best in terms of run saved and so on.
Well, the 3. I can remember just off the top of my head 3 or 4 boundaries that were saved just by sharp fielding.
Yeah, But if you look at from the New Zealand juxtaposition point of view again, Conway's 21 off 20. What did he get in that opening match? 70 odd off 40 odd. Now, with Finn Allen and Conway, 70 off 40 and 40 off 15 are right at the top end of what New Zealand are expecting them to do with that the game plan of being kind of like the hybrid anchor and being the hitter from the start. Like they know that isn't going to happen in every match. But if you see the best case scenario in the first match, you saw probably the worst case scenario from both of them in the match. Conway 21 off 20, so he scores just over a run a ball, basically wastes the power play, and then doesn't do what he's supposed to do in the middle overs, which is accelerate and actually he's generally speaking a little bit of a nuisance from a matchup point of view as well, because he plays spin well and he plays his matchup very well as well, so he's very, very good against off spin, all the balls turning away, so he's a big problem there. Gets out at the end of the power play and that's in trouble. The thing that went right from New Zealand's point of view was Kane Williamson being the anchor, but of the things they want to go right, it's probably the thing that they care least about. 46 or 42, him. I wonder, Max, bigger question here, whether this is the last we'll see of Williamson in T20 internationals. What do you reckon on that theory?
I think 2 games ago I'd have said that's a real possibility, but he has, just at the back end of New Zealand's tournament, put in a couple of performances that suggest that maybe he's not completely a busted flush in this. I mean, it wasn't scintillating day by any means, but it was useful runs in terms of rebuilding. But there was a slightly quicker 60 odd the other day, which showed that actually he went out and he made an effort to try and play in that way a little bit more than what he normally does. I think slightly aware of his limitations as a T20 hitter, but he's a class player. And I thing with New Zealand is they're already looking at a lineup where you've got Jimmy Neesham coming in at 6, Santner at 7, and Ish Sodhi at 8. It's not full of depth, is it? So you take Kane Williamson out of that, you think like who's coming in? Is it Martin Guptill, who's been in dreadful form himself, and also not exactly young. So I mean, it's all about who they've got to come in and change things. But I think it's probably a New Zealand side that's maybe reaching the end of a cycle and needs a bit of rebuilding. But you need to keep a few guys around to try and manage that process. So I think we'll probably see Williamson for a couple more years yet.
Okay, all right. Well, that's how you've answered it. I mean, it was. I don't think it was a totally useless innings. I mean, it's probably the value of it, 46 or 42. I bet loads of people would be like, "That's the worst innings of the time." I think you talked about the surface not being great. I think that's a valid point. I think as well as that, New Zealand being sort of 49 for 3 after 8 overs, and everyone else struggling at the top of the order, factor into things. And I think, and this is where he batted quite well with Mitchell specifically, and where he batted well with Phillips against England. What Williamson can do is give the strike back to the person who is batting well every single ball. Like, you're very rarely going to see him not turn the strike over. I think where you see players like him or players with these sorts of stats really, really cost their team is when they eat up loads of balls and they're eating up like 4 and over from somebody.
Yeah, and then they take a single off the last ball of the over.
Yeah. So he doesn't do that. I mean, I still don't think it's great batting, and I still think there's a more optimal way to play, especially for him. I mean, I don't even necessarily buy into the idea that he needs to retire because he is bad. I think he needs to ring up his mate Virat Kohli and ask what have you been doing, like to kind of get your form back. Like why are you hitting sixes all of a sudden?
I mean, the only other question obviously is his elbow. Got this long-standing elbow.
Well, if he's got an elbow injury, then and he needs to cut back on workload, then obviously T20 is what
what goes.
I suppose from his point of view, if you throw in the international game, then that probably means the IPL contract he's got, which is a lot of money, goes with it. And I don't know if that would be the smartest financial decision. So that's probably a reason for him to hang around. I just think it's just strange that he's faced 42 balls. I think he hit 2 in the air and they went for 4 and 6. The 6 he hit was like effortless.
Great shot.
And it wasn't as though it was a remarkably bad ball. He faced across the 42 balls he faced, I reckon he faced probably 5, 10 worse deliveries, like objectively worse deliveries, wider or fuller, a couple of full tosses in there. Shadab Khan was determined to bowl at half trackers, and New Zealand were determined not to try and hit any of them out of the stadium. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's odd in the context of this match. I don't think it's the worst inning. I do think he's done nothing to assuage me over this tournament, or to change my mind. I think over this tournament that he can do it in top level T20. Phillips, we've seen better from him, which I think we can say for all the Kiwis. Less, apart from Daryl Mitchell, who, as you said right at the top, 53 off 35 max, saves the day to some extent. I think at one point it looked like they were going to be lucky to get 140. Then with him in full flow, you thought 165 might be on.
Yeah, and that would have been game on. I think 165 would have been a tricky chase. You saw how Pakistan slowed down towards the end. And once the spinners came on, it took the pace off. So it was a big innings from him. But like I said, it's sort of just kind of a little bit of a lack of depth in there, isn't there? They had to, they've got this approach, which is to set the platform and go at the end, and that worked with Kane Williamson and how he played and rotating the strike and getting Daryl Mitchell set so that he could have that dash at the end. But like you said, it just was too much to do, wasn't there? They were playing catch up.
Yeah, and I think as well, this is where we saw we just you kind of know that Pakistan's strength is bowling, but they shut the door, I think, on that 160 plus total quite effectively over the last 3 overs. They bowled out Shaheen early, which they've been doing in this tournament. And I don't know whether this is because, and you can answer this. I don't know whether this is because they have amazing options at the death and they don't need to use him, or whether this is because he is injured. What do you reckon? So they went with 2 Naseem Shah and 1 of Harris Ralph, and I think maybe Shaheen bowled the 16th.
Ralph's always been the 19th, hasn't he, for Pakistan? That's his role.
Yeah.
Shaheen, I think in this game it looked a little bit like it might have been a roll of the dice because there was a hint of verse, and they were sort of trying to buy that wicket, and it worked in the end. They got Kane Williamson out with not with reverse swing, but with a slower ball. I think that was sort of a let's try and buy a wicket and really put some pressure on just when it looked like New Zealand might get going, and that obviously proved to be a very shrewd move. But I think
so you're saying it's not either of what I said. It's that they're using Shaheen as a strike bowler.
That was today, I think.
Yeah.
In obviously in another, if they've got the option of Naseem Shah, perhaps they just think it's all much of a muchness. And Shaheen's obviously most effective at the start with the swinging ball and that sort of tailing into the right hander and trapping him in front, which he's done so many times. But I think they've obviously got options. They back Naseem Shah to do it. He's done a good job, hasn't he? So I think it's a good place to be if you're a Pakistan captain.
I thought it was really good captaincy actually from Babar to do it that way round in this specific situation on the pitch they were playing on. I thought Naseem Shah, with his variation in the speeds he can bowl, like 90 plus in MPH and sub 90 in KPH, like he's got quite a wide range in terms of what he can do, and he's also a bit more of a bang it into the wicket type bowler. And I think where this pitch was quite difficult. I don't know about difficult. No, in fact, it was difficult. What I think this pitch was a little bit like a Pakistan home wicket. I thought that this, and I know
low bounce.
I know somebody pointed this out that in the group stage, Pakistan had like if they could have picked the venues and the opposition they played against, they'd have pretty much gone with each venue for each opposition because they played either into one of their strengths or into one of the opposition's weaknesses. And I think the SCG is probably the best example of this. It's a bit slower. It sticks in the pitch a little bit more. it means that they're a little bit less likely to get blasted out of the game because it's a road. And it means that the quality of Babar Azam and Rizwan with the bat can come through, because generally speaking on those trickier surfaces you want a better batter who might not be able to score as quickly. And that's kind of what we saw today. And I thought, I don't know who came up with the plan. Maybe it was Babar halfway through. Maybe they've got a good analyst. Maybe Shaheen's injured and it isn't even a plan. But I
That's
thought
probably the most likely.
I thought 2 overs of Naseem Shah right at the end was really effective, and I think New Zealand really, really struggled to do anything with it. Because they should have, probably with 3 overs to go, got 160, and they fell, 152. A 3 over chase of 32 runs or whatever it was is falling quite short, quite short of that mark.
Well, he's been great, Naseem Shah, since he's come into the Pakistan side. Obviously we've seen him around in some of the English county circuit and obviously the PSL, but since he's come in, he's been brilliant. I think he's had a really good World Cup, and it's
well, the big question with him, Max, is if he had been available for Welsh Fire, would they have won the 100?
They might have won a game.
That's actually why we have 2 people are tuning in. They were just waiting for us to get to
the
that
fire joke,
to that point. Yeah, so that that's the first innings. I think Pakistan probably went into the match as slight favourites and probably made themselves slightly stronger favourites by the end of the innings. 152. I think it was a decent recovery from where New Zealand were 50 after 8 overs, 3 down or 4 down, but it's still not that big a score. And then with the Rizwan Babar factor, you're feeling
well, like you
good.
said at the start, it's the blueprint. It's the Pakistani blueprint.
Yeah, no, it quite literally is. Quick reminder: if you're watching along on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. If you're watching live, it's the only way you can chat with us. Hit that subscribe button. Say hello. You can also send us a super chat if you like the podcast and want to donate, or join us as a Patreon, patreon.com/thecricketpod for bonus content. I changed when people send us a super chat, Max. There's a graphic comes up, and I've changed the GIF for that. It was Shane Warne for a bit.
It was, wasn't it?
Now it's been updated. Well, someone's gonna have to do a super chat to find out. I'm gonna try and bait somebody in to triggering that. Cool. Second innings then. Pakistan. I mean, it couldn't have started any better. The first ball was a wide long hop, and Rizwan smashes it for 4. And New Zealand, I don't know. New Zealand, I think, got it quite badly wrong in the power play. So I think they did. First of all, they bowled a lot of freebies, as in like half trackers wide, like not going to take a wicket, no threat. Second, I think they took probably 2 overs too long to
get the spinners on.
Well, to get the spinners on. I was going to say to work out that it wasn't going to swing at all.
Right.
Yeah, like Bolt in particular in his second over, which I think went for 12 or 13, just kept sticking it up there, and it just kept getting hit, and it wasn't doing anything. And so it was. I think the 4th over they went to Lockie Ferguson. That's probably where I'd have gone to spin. They went to Lockie Ferguson to just sort of go straight. But by that point, like both batters had hit a couple of boundaries. I mean, but Babar Azam was dropped second ball. Tough chance, but it was a drop. Tough chance, but it was it was in the glove. I think a good wicketkeeper catches that more often than not. I'd back Ben Folkes to catch that 70% of the time, for example. I didn't think it was great wicketkeeping.
Yeah, slight difference between the world's best wicketkeeper and a part-timer, though.
Well, I mean, but that's one of the things.
Decision New Zealand have made, though.
That happens, isn't it? Yeah, if you give the gloves to somebody who doesn't do it full time, then they might drop a chance that. I mean, I don't know. Like maybe it's very difficult to be like, from an analytical point of view, he should take that X% of the time, and so it's cost them X% of a wicket.
We're not quite there yet,
but I feel like if it goes into the middle of the glove, which it did, and you are a wicketkeeper, you should be catching that ball quite regularly.
I think at any
you got a glove on,
really. Yeah, if you've got a good hand to something, you're always going to feel like I should have caught that. Yeah, it's very rare that you get a hand to something and you're like, oh, I was
Having said
leave at
that,
least a little bit disappointed.
it was quite athletic of him to get a hand on it in the first place. So maybe we give him credit for the dive,
Yeah,
debit for the
drop.
Yeah. They also tried to run each other out about 4 times, but after 3 or 4 overs, I think New Zealand had got it so badly wrong that the game was almost already irretrievable for them. And they go to Ferguson for the extra pace. His first ball is just smashed back past him. What a shot that was from Babar Azam, by the way. That straight drive. And it was a little bit of a procession from there. I mean,
you can just sort of see the win. I mean, the win probability charts are generally rubbish, but in this case, it kind of tells you what you need to know.
Are you on the ESPN one?
Yeah, it was sort of at the start of Pakistan's innings, it was a bit in their favour, which I think we'd agree with, and just during that power play, it just went off in
it goes.
It's like
it's a cliff, basically, isn't it? It's
and literally, like you say, 2 or 3 overs in, and you're like, well, it's now.
We're in miracle territory. We're in somebody needs to take a hat trick or do something absolutely nuts to do things. It's also what's fun about this scorecard is it is like the most Pakistan scorecard you could possibly hope to see, isn't it? Chasing 152. Rizwan, 57 or 43, striking at 132, no sixes. Babar Azam, 53 or 42, striking at 126, no sixes.
No sixes.
Between the two of them, though, they get 110 of the 152 runs. Throw another 10 extras in, nobody else has to really do anything. And somebody, doesn't matter who, somebody 3 through to 7 did hit a 6, and that was fun. And they win. For some reason, it takes until the 20th over to finally get over the line. 19.1 overs, and Sham Masood gets a little run out with a sub 100 strike rate. Like it's just, if someone was going to say, we've talked a few times about how unpredictable this tournament has been. If someone was to say, how did Pakistan win the semi-final?
You literally write that scorecard down.
I think it would either be that or mayhem. It would be
Mohamed Nawaz scores 50 off 10 in the last 2 overs.
Yeah, exactly. It would be the safest win of all time in the most Pakistan fashion of all time, or it would be the most unlikely win of all time. Also, most Pakistan style of victory. I mean, people say that they're an inconsistent side, but they actually do consistently win matches this way. Probably half the time they win is these two batters got quite a lot of runs, not that quickly, and the bowlers did well. A few wider points, Max. I know you wanted to raise one of them. The first one, though, is New Zealand 152 for 4. Most people who are ITK in the know sort of think something went wrong there, and that these kind of scores, we won't really see them in the future, because what 152 for 4 tells us is that New Zealand
left something out there,
got their acceleration wrong, and they either didn't go earlier or they didn't go hard enough. Is that fair enough?
Absolutely, yeah. It's always a telling score, that kind of thing. It can either tell you one of two things, can't it? It can tell you either, like you say, they didn't quite fulfill their potential in terms of attacking the game, or it can tell you that the pitch was impossible to attack on, and it wasn't that bad. I mean, obviously it was slightly trickier than I wouldn't say it was a good batting surface, but you wouldn't say it was impossible to time the ball or anything that extreme, to the point that scoring 150 with 6 wickets in hand is what you'd expect. So I mean, obviously you have to look and say, what's happened, and again, it's sort of that. It's what you touched on. It's the sort of anchory nature of that lineup. When the 2 guys in the top 4 who can go a bit quicker get out cheaply, that's what happens. And you just have to think, what can you do to get around that? Is it a case of, like you say, Kane Williams looking at his game and trying to attack quicker? I mean, getting up to 46 or 42. Maybe after 20 balls, that's the point where he should be motoring on, and then after 40 balls, he wants to be on something more like 60.
Well,
and then,
ideally,
okay, that's a normal
60.
score.
Yeah,
That's it, isn't it? It's just him perhaps taking too long to make that move. And I don't know whether there's a level of, like I said, the depth of that lineup, whether they feel like they have to take it that deep to give themselves
I think that
a
is a
chance when they
serious
don't run out of
problem.
wickets.
Ish Sodhi is a bad number 8 for any of the teams in this tournament. Not just
Mm.
for a major nation, like for any of the teams in this tournament. If that's who you're sending in at number 8, then
Yeah.
I'm afraid you don't have any batting depth. And Santner, and I quite like Santner as a player. Santner's not a great number 7 either. He'd be a pretty good number 8, pretty weak number 7, I think. They reminded me of the Rajasthan Royals. I think they've got a sort of certain Royals
With less
vibe about them.
firepower.
Yeah, with no Shimron Hetmeyer.
Yeah.
If they had him in there, they could do a transfer for Shimron Hetmeyer. That's what they should.
I'm sure West Indies would be fine with it.
That's what they should consider doing. Sartaj in the chat. Is that the right person? I think so. I've lost where I was. Somebody in here has asked. Somebody. I can't. I'm sorry, whoever asked this. But I've lost where my notes was. But I do remember the question. Is why is everyone saying that New Zealand batted badly? Did Pakistan not just bowl well? And I think that's fair too. They didn't bowl with loads of penetration. They only 3 wickets, run out. But I think they did quite a good job of controlling Conway up front, bowling short and making it very difficult for him to get away. And then
no wides.
Yeah, no wides is great stuff, isn't it? Like if you don't bowl any wides, then well,
that's a good start.
Yeah, we come and teach the cricket team I play for at the weekend how to do that. We bowled 50 and 40 overs this year, which is pretty insane. So I don't know. I think that's a fair point. Pakistan did bowl.
They did.
Pretty
they
well.
Definitely bowled well.
The 2 other things. Mohammed Harris, Max. You wanted to know where he's been, but I'm hoping you've got an answer to that because I don't have one.
Yeah, well, not many places is the answer. He's played in the PSL a bit, but he's only played 26 T20s, domestic T20s, and now sort of 4 or 5 internationals, and he looks like quite an exciting player for Pakistan, and for a Pakistan side that could really do with something like that in the middle order. So. More carnage added to Pakistan is essentially what we're going to get, and that's good fun.
Yeah.
And if you sort of think about what Pakistan could have, I mean, Dan's not here, but he would be championing Azam Khan, of course. And then if you have a Mohammed Harris who's a couple of years on and a bit more experience, and Azam Khan in there on top of that Babar Azam and Mohammed Rizwan platform, and then suddenly you're looking at a Pakistan side that will be chasing 180, 190 comfortably and could be dominating global T20 cricket for years to come.
The only thing I'd say to that, Max, is does that mean we have to get rid of Iftikhar and Sham Masood? Because I think they'd be very good.
Unfortunately, yes.
Right. One last point, Max, from me, and then we have a few questions. If you've got any questions, let us know in the chat. We've got 10 minutes for them. Do you think Williamson called it wrong, batting first against Pakistan? Pakistan have got a massive chasing bias. Like they're a much better team chasing, and the SCG. I mean, you only had to see England's game there the other day to see that it's not that easy to bat, and generally speaking, when it's not that easy to bat, we do see the chasing team slightly better off. I feel like it really did play into Pakistan's game plan. It gave them the best chance of victory.
Yeah, no, I was puzzled as well. I think as much for that reason as anything. Just you think about maybe he thought we've got a chance to bat Pakistan out of the game here. That's, I suppose, the other way you can look at it, in that, okay, they're really good at chasing 160, but if they have to chase 181, all in a heap. You also think about what Pakistan. Well, I suppose, yeah, it doesn't make sense either. You think about what Pakistan have done well in this tournament. It's bowling. So take that out of the equation. Try and get at their batting, make them have to set something, make them collapse and knock it over. Yeah, I think from that point of view, it is a little puzzling. But I think Have we seen sort of the convention of chasing being easier slightly flipped on its head in this tournament so far? I think it was certainly at the start.
Yeah, but I mean, I think you have to assess each game on its merits, don't you?
Yeah.
I think you can't, just because you're playing in the UAE doesn't mean you should always bowl second. You need to have bowl first, sorry. And just because in Australia it's zipped around a little bit early. Just because it's been easier to bat in the day and it's zipped around a little bit under lights, doesn't mean that batting first is always going to be correct. I think you have to take into account like what the other team are good at, and
Yeah.
it was a used pitch and things like that. Maybe they thought it would really deteriorate and
Yeah.
make it any score.
Well, maybe
would be good. I mean,
from a New Zealand point of view, you know, they're sort of set up to do a similar thing to Pakistan, I suppose.
Yeah, no, they're not a million miles away. They're not a million miles away at all. Right, Max, let's get through some what are they called? Questions. I think that's what they're called. Before we do that, do you want to remind people one last time what to do?
Click like, click subscribe. Head over Twitter and Instagram at the Cricket Pod and support us on Patreon. Patreon.com/. Basically, find a link and put Cricket Pod in it, and we'll be there.
Generally, give us money.
Yeah.
Cost of living crisis. I need to buy some more books. Max needs a new carpet for his wall.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean anything to anyone who's listened to the podcast, but that's our respective backgrounds. Ian Man says England's chances these aren't collated in any way, so just going to zip around. England's chances for a World Cup win on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is victory and 1 is exit tomorrow. What do you reckon, Max?
I reckon if Mark Wood is fit, 7. If Mark Wood's not fit, 5.
Okay. What? So you think England have got a 50% chance of winning the World Cup if Mark Wood is fit for the game tomorrow?
No.
Well, what are you bloody answering that for?
70 if he is.
Wait, so you think it's not only do you think England are going to beat India, you think they're a banker to win the whole tournament?
They've smashed Pakistan to smithereens for the last in Australia for the last month. It's guaranteed, mate. You said it yourself. England's position in this World Cup is now to ruin the narrative.
That
of
is
India,
true.
Pakistan.
Yeah, that is what England are here for. We all thought
it's not based on any cricketing analysis.
Yeah, this is what we thought the narrative was. We thought Australia were going to turn up with the home World Cup, and after they accidentally won it last time, they would win it by picking the best team this time. That narrative was incorrect. Then we thought the narrative was it's finally South Africa's chance. That narrative was also incorrect. Then we thought the narrative was Pakistan's comeback. That narrative is yet to be fully confirmed to be incorrect, but it is looking like it's going to be correct, and I'll tell you why. Because the narrative then became basically India are going to beat Pakistan in the final, but we didn't consider England as the spoiler, and that's now the narrative which I think is probably the best narrative, that England come in, they beat India, they ruin the whole world's desire to see India v Pakistan in the final. I mean, there are probably I was looking at figures about this today. There are 15 million engaged cricket fans in England. Of those, let's say 5 million of them India Pakistan diaspora. They're probably not 5 million. Some of them are not going to be supporting England. Let's just say that. Yeah,
it's not an insignificant number.
Yeah. So let's say there's 14 million England fans on the planet. There are, I don't know, 2 billion, 3 billion other cricket fans, all wanting to see India v Pakistan. England are going to come in, they're going to spoil that tomorrow.
Yeah.
Then in the final, everyone's going to be angry at England for ruining India v Pakistan, and they're going to be on the Pakistan comeback train. But England have got the spoiler narrative, and everybody knows the spoiler narrative is that's basically what Australia did in the 90s, spoil everything. So that's what's going to happen. That's the
realistically. I think England and India is a 50-50 shout, and I'd make England slight favourites over Pakistan.
Somebody, Aperba asks, if Pakistan win the World Cup, which one will you consider the biggest fluke? England 2019 or Pakistan 2022?
Probably Pakistan 2022, because
England
2019 were the best
good.
one-day side in the world.
They won it.
The game ending thing that caused England to win it was a fluke. That's fine. That happened. But we're talking about a Pakistan side who are decent, don't have much firepower, lost to Zimbabwe, and then we're relying on the Netherlands to beat South Africa to qualify. Like, come on. It doesn't even compare.
Also, in 2019, England did beat all of the other best teams in the tournament. They beat apart from Pakistan, actually. Did they lose to Pakistan? I think they did, didn't they?
No, they beat Pakistan. They lost to Sri Lanka.
No, they did lose to Pakistan. Pakistan got 340. But they beat all of the other semi-finalists. And, in the group stage, they beat India. In the knockouts, they knocked out Australia. And they did beat New Zealand already in the tournament. So I think there was reason to believe that they were, even within that tournament where they didn't play that well, one of the better teams. Whereas Pakistan have qualified for a tournament where you generally need 4 wins, with 3 wins, and thanks to like rain and Netherlands.
Yeah.
So there definitely a bit of luck there. Albeit in the 2 games they lost, they were only narrow losers. They weren't absolutely pumped. They did only narrowly lose to the 12th best team in the world. Dilip said, did New Zealand miss the intent bus today and hand over the game on a plate to Pakistan? Hardly took any risks. Yes or no, Max?
Sort of, but I think we should, as much credit as we need to, as much blame as we need to lay at the feet of New Zealand for not maybe showing enough intent, we should give credit to Pakistan for not allowing them to. And like we said, we've gone through the reasons for New Zealand and their makeup and why they haven't gone for it. I think it's sort of a bit about how their side is built.
Cool. Are Pakistan better equipped to take on England or India in the final?
That's quite a good question.
It's a good question.
I think probably India minus the Suryakumar Yadav effect.
Yeah, so I've been thinking this. I think it's a similar situation to England find themselves in. India are probably, I think India are favourites against both teams. But they have some bigger single points of failure than certainly England. So England, there's no one player that has to play well for England to win. On the bowling side, if someone isn't bowling well, they've got like a bazillion options to throw the ball to. Like, they don't need to bowl out a single player. On the batting side, but Butler is quite important. But they do also bat to like 9. And even Adil Rashid can, in theory, hold the bat, and even Mark Wood can slog it. Yeah. India, batting wise, are a good batting side relative to the tournament, and they have, I think, by miles the best batter in the world. But if Suryakumar Yadav gets a golden duck, which does happen, it's not an irrational thing to say that could happen. It does. Well, so let's say he gets 5 off 2 balls and then he's out. The batting is quite that's a significant drop in their potential. They don't really have anybody of that caliber. Now, it's possible that Moeen Ali or Liam Livingstone or Butler or Alex Hales get 50 off 25 balls and do what they won't do it as regularly. Nobody's doing it as regularly. It's freakish. But it is possible that they will do that. There are fewer Indian players that might. Hardik's probably the other one that is a realistic shout to tee off. And then with the ball, India have fewer bowling options. So if one of them goes wrong, that is trouble. But bowling options might be better. But the reality is, if Bhuvi does what he did a month ago and loses his weight, doesn't swing, that's kind of trouble for them. If Arshdeep Singh, we haven't seen any reason to believe this would happen, but say he gets really maybe he gets really nervous. He plays for Punjab Kings. He's never been in a semi-final before. Let's say he gets really nervous and sprays it all over the place. Who comes in to bowl those overs? They don't really have an option. They just got to feed him into the grinder. Now, I think probably Suryakumar Yadav will get runs, and probably Arshdeep will bowl well in those 2 examples. But if they don't, then that India are significantly weaker. Whereas for England,
Yeah.
that isn't really a concern. If one batsman gets out, it's a shame, but there are loads more. If one bowler doesn't bowl well, it's a shame, but there are loads more. So they need sort of 3 batters to fail or 3 bowlers to fail. Might happen. Pakistan, I think, very similar on the bowling front to points I made with England, but better than England. Batting, obviously, their openers are big. They go wrong. So I don't know. I mean, what was the original question? Are Pakistan better equipped to take on England or India in the final? I think India.
Yeah.
I think India. I think England would. I think England have played them a lot recently.
That's true. Yeah, England.
I think England.
They know all about them.
And
I think England are more equipped to try and to do something like bat Pakistan out the game. Whereas I think that's what I'm saying. I think India can do that, but like you said, Suryakumar Yadav is a big part of that.
I also think England will almost always, but will very regularly chase Pakistan's best score. Let's say Pakistan's best score, but let's say when they bat well, they get 175 to 185. England will still get that score against this bowling lineup a lot. I don't know if India will as much. But it's I don't know. You'd have to look into sort of matchups and as well. I think the final point, India's matchup situation bowling wise is more limited than England. They don't really have any left-handers. And that can be a bit of a problem. Having said that, maybe there's a head thing as well. It's pretty tricky. I think basically India and England are favourites over Pakistan.
I think they both should be.
Yeah. MD Topu asks, when will India win an ICC tournament? I think if they get to the final, they'll win this one.
Yeah. Could be this week.
It could be this week. Probably going to be this week. Let's hype that up. 2 more, Max, and then we can call it a day. It's quite a long podcast for one that will only be valid for one day. Yeah. Saraga says, when will teams learn that keeping 6 wickets in the bank to end up only scoring at 150 is a waste of time? Williamson's match losing one. Soon, I think, is the answer to that. I don't think we'll see many 150 for 4s at the 2032 World Cup. It is a weird score to end up on. And Chintan says, are Pakistan the jammiest dodgers in cricket? Yeah, a little.
They are this year.
It does. It pays to be jammy.
Who will it be next year?
I don't know. Right. Last question, and it's from the chat, and I did say put them in there. From Aditya, if India wins the toss, will they bat or bowl first? I think they will bowl first. I think both teams will bowl first tomorrow.
Yeah, I agree.
You can't. It's very hard to have lost the game at the halfway point if you bowl first. So it always is safer in T20 cricket from a captain point of view. I think, like you'd have to concede 220 to be like, this game is over. And even then, people would be like, well, "Here's a good pitch." If you bat first,
220 is not. 220 is not happening on any of the pitches we've seen so far.
If you bat first and get 120, everyone will be saying, "Oh, that wasn't a good idea." Or even today, if you get 150, people will be saying, "Was it that wise?" Anyway, that's good. Thanks everyone for joining us. Last reminder: like, subscribe, follow us on social media, and we'll be back tomorrow, probably about the same time, to talk about England v India. Bye.
Ooh.